March 15th, 2022. Has appropriate meeting notification been made, Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak.
Here.
Alderman Zaffel.
Here.
Alderman Douglas, excuse me, Alderman Ellis.
Now I'm Douglas. At one point I was Shaw, and then,
All these aldermen look alike, man.
I don't think so.
I hope Thank you. Alderman Spiegelberg. Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Douglas.
Here.
Well, we have a jovial group tonight. Welcome everyone in the audience. We're going to open the public hearing on the Prairie Creek number 6, Prairie Creek Ridge number 6 rezoning. Mr. Gallo, can you lead us off, please? He'll be giving us a summary, and then we'll open it up for any comments from the public.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll give a brief overview of the public hearing that you have before you tonight. It's a rezoning request for the Prairie Creek Ridge expansion and also the Miller properties. It's a rezoning. The general location is at the southwest corner of Highway K and Highway P, which is Brown Street. The two properties, there's two specific properties being requested to be rezoned this evening. They're highlighted in blue on your screen. To give you an idea, you have P on the west side here and Highway K. So there's two parcels. One is being divided in a north-south, so there will be an east and a west side. That's the one right at the corner. That has two different zonings. One is 20.7 acres and the other is 15.9 acres. And then the separate parcel a little further to the west is 5.15. Those are existing parcels that would be rezoned. These have recently been annexed to the city. So they were in the town of Oconomowoc. The tax key numbers are OCOT, you can see, and that means town of Oconomowoc. So they're going to be reassigned new numbers once they develop. So this is a side-by-side comparison. It's a total of 41.77 acres. Currently, when it was annexed to the city, it was assigned a temporary zoning called UR, Urban Reserve. And tonight they're asking that these two pieces be changed to the suburban residential district as well as general commercial. Staff feels the request is in conformance with the comprehensive land use plan that we created and approved back in 2019, which did show these areas. They do have some vertical lines running through them because they were part of the town of Oconomowoc. So on our plan, we did plan for them and we showed commercial along Highway P corridor to kind of continue with all this other commercial land and then residential on the side. We did an area-wide plan at a staff level. This is an unapproved plan. The council has not approved this, but it did kind of, for sizing of the lift station, we wanted to know what was the future land use, what the lift station's gonna cover, how many residential equivalency units would be there, what's a good land use. So we put together a plan in-house with the assistance of some of the landowners and developers in the area. So we showed this area as a commercial area on the corner. This was a transitional area. It could be single-family homes or it could be something else. But tonight the request is to go to single-family homes, SR zoning. So we have the park with their proposed fields. The lift station would be located right here. This is part of Prairie Creek 5. This has been approved down here. This is multifamily zoning, single family. Everything between single family 5 and the other areas. Some of this does require some rezonings. You can see on our zoning map. This will be coming in for a rezoning to go to yellow, but the preliminary plat has been created by the developer to do all these single-family homes, which would be in conformance with our comprehensive plan. The areas were a little hard to see on that other map where they are. This is the 1 5-acre piece here, and then the other areas are using the white pointer up here. So this is that 5-acre piece would be residential homes. So where do we go from here? The lands were annexed in February of this year, 2022. The Plan Commission did make a recommendation back on March 2nd. Tonight, we're holding the public hearing. It's on the agenda for action tonight, and this does require a certified survey map, which they have submitted and is going to the Plan Commission next month. Staff and the Plan Commission both made a recommendation to approve the ordinance for the Prairie Creek Ridge subdivision expansion in the Miller lands located at southwest corner of P and K. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? I haven't received any blue cards, but if you want to make a comment with regard to what Mr. Gallo presented, the council would be happy to hear your thoughts. Any comments in the public hearing? Seeing that there are no comments and no one has come forth, the public hearing is now closed. I'd like to move on to the next item, approval of the minutes for March 1st, 2022.
So moves, Zaffel.
Second, Ellis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is, does anybody in the audience have comments or suggestions or that they'd like to make to the council on any topic? Again, I have not received any blue cards, but I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity. Any comments from citizens or the public? Seeing no comments, we'll move on to our consent agenda items, A, B, C, D, and D. A, B, C, and D. I'd like to entertain a motion at this time.
So moved, Ellis.
Second, Spiegelberg.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's move on to committee reports. I'm going to start off first with Finance. Consider act on Resolution 22-R3017, approving amendments for the 2022 budget for continued appropriations. Ms. Sullivan Murray.
Thank you. This is our annual a budget amendment that we make for open purchase orders and projects that haven't yet been completed from the previous year. So this would be a budget amendment to 2022 to approve continuing these 2021 projects.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved, Ellis.
Second, Mulder.
Any further discussions or questions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Mulder?
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Douglas?
Aye.
On to our next item, consider act on Resolution 22-R3020, approving amendments to the 2021 Tax Increment Financing District budget for TIF number 7.
Thank you. This budget amendment is a 2021 budget amendment that records the actual activity in TIF number 7. So TIF number 7 was created in 2021. We did have a borrowing, we did have infrastructure improvements, and they're all reflected in the resolution before you.
Like to entertain a motion?
So moved. Second, Zaffel.
Any further discussions or questions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Mulder?
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Douglas?
Aye.
On to Public Services, consider act on Resolution 22-R3016, awarding landscape supply storage structure contract. Mr. Hepner.
Good evening. We bid this out publicly, and we received 2 bids, one from RB3 Inc. and one from Advanced Building. The base bid includes structural engineering, excavation, concrete flatwork, footings and walls, and carpentry work to construct a 26-foot by 76-foot structure, which will have 5 bays to store topsoil, mulch, and engineered wood fiber. We also had an alternate, but we are not recommending going forward with it. That was included to add asphalt between the structure and our current yard. This will be located in our yard, so behind our DPW and Parks building, adjacent right to the cold storage building that's currently there. RB3 is the lowest qualified bidder at $205,000. We worked with them last year on two projects. One was concrete work and the shelter that we built at Roosevelt Park, and the other was extra concrete work for the skate park. They were excellent to work with, and we're very confident that they can do a good job with this project. Funding for this, the budget was $210,000, so we're just getting underneath that, luckily. We have $90,000 that was originally in a 2021 capital project for parks. And in 2022, we have $40,000 each from DPW, wastewater, and utilities to add up to the $210,000. So tonight, we were asking for approval of resolution to construct a landscape supply storage structure, awarding the contract to RB3 Inc. in the sum of $205,000 for the base bid only, and to also include a $5,000 contingency for a total of $210,000.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Hepner? Alderman Rozak.
Hey, Craig, just a quick, you said the project costs will be shared amongst Public Works, Parks, wastewater, electric. Was that how we set up the capital budget on that too?
Correct.
That everyone was taking a piece, like 25% each, or?
It started out the first year was our money. After we realized what we needed to actually make this happen, then we split it up.
Okay.
So it went, the 22 money was a third between the other three departments.
Is the rest of the driveways back there gravel, or are they all asphalt?
It's
back there?
asphalt. So what I think we would do to knock over budget, we have some stone on site between our departments. We can actually get the stone down and compact it and use that temporarily, and we're thinking hopefully a little side asphalt project, we could just finish it out.
Okay,
So
good.
I didn't want to ask for extra money. I don't think we need to. I think we can do that in-house or pretty easy.
It's just landscape storage, right? But yeah, I'm in favor, but at some point, if we need to finish that, try to squeeze that in somewhere else where we've got a little extra juice on an asphalt budget somewhere. So, great.
All right, thank you.
Any further questions? I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So move, Kavieski.
Rozak, second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zappel? Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Mulder? Alderman Shell Pepper?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Douglas?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, we'll move on to consider act on resolution 22-R3019, awarding construction management services contract for 2022 Olympia Fields Phase 2 infrastructure project. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before us tonight is for the construction management, as the mayor said. We're continuing with the continuity of the engineering, design, and construction management firms that we used in Phase 1. Going into Phase 2, we still have part of Phase 1 yet to complete. These teams have been working together for over 2 years now on this very large project. Because it's a TIF project, it is the city's responsibility to bid it out and then manage the project. So the item before you tonight is a proposal from Rokert Milky. They did the construction management in Phase 1. We're proposing them for Phase 2 at a not to exceed cost of $430,000 plus a 10% contingency of $43,000 for a net cost of $473,000.
Questions or comments for Mr. Fry? Yes, Alderman Ellis.
You said that you bid this out. You didn't bid it out, did you?
If I did, I apologize, because that wasn't the,
In Phase 1, did we go out for an RFP?
no, we did not.
So we didn't bid this out?
No.
So in Phase 2, to keep everything in nice and neat and packaged, we're not going to go out for an RFP, are we?
No, we did not.
Then can you explain to me how we know that we are actually getting the best bid for this project for our community?
When you look at their numbers compared to the overall value of the project, in looking at the actual numbers that it has taken to complete Phase 1 to the point that it is. It's roughly about 8% of the bid cost, and that's where this proposal comes in, is roughly 8% of the total bid cost. Having the continuity of the engineering firms that have been sitting side by side and working on this project together for the last 2 years, we know will help during the construction, and that it reduces issues of when there's conflicts, that we're able to work through them quickly and keep the project moving. This project, you may recall when we brought the construction project to everybody, we did actually include an extra $100,000 in there as an incentive for the contractor, Wolf Paving, to complete the job by October 15th, because Sendix wants to be in and operational by Thanksgiving. So this is a project that will need to move along quickly. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of infrastructure to bury. There's a very large roundabout. There's work out in 67, $1.1 million worth of work out in 67 associated with this project. So we felt it's best to keep that team together that has been working on this from day one.
You never answered my question. You don't know if this is the best price we could have gotten. You cannot. And the reason there being is because you never went out for an RFP. And because you didn't go out for an RFP, we only have one number at which we need to go ahead and look at things. Now, we're in phase 2. For us now to go out for an RFP, it's going to really push this project behind. I get that. But I just want to know, I just want you guys to know that at the end of the day, for us to be able to do what we know we can do best for this community, you need to go out and get RFPs. Regardless if it makes sense or not, or it's an extra couple hours, or whatever the case may be. You need to go out and get RFPs. That's all.
Alderman
I'm
Rozak?
done.
Yeah, real quick. I philosophically agree with you, Kevin. We talked after the public services. I like to see these things RFP'd. I think we should continue to move forward. But on this specific project, I will vote in favor of it, and here's why. It's best to keep a project like this with the amount of money and TIF funds and everything we've got going, this moving fast. Mark has said he believes the costs are in line with what he typically would see for construction management on this size of a project. We don't and are not required to RFP this. And finally, it's not, your typical levy funds, which we talked about. It's TIF funds, so it's really being paid by the developer. And in that sense, even if we RFP'd the project and it came back a little cheaper than what they're doing now, if the project slows down or there's difficulties with the first phase, we're going to slow down the whole project getting built, because the quicker they build their buildings, the quicker the TIF gets paid back and the quicker we get our tax money. So while I 100% agree with you, I think we need to stay on this issue and continue to, do our checks and balances. And that's what you're doing. That's what I think we're very good at. But I will vote for it for those reasons.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Ellis, I didn't see your hand.
I concur with you. I think that at this point in time, I had to get that out, because I just want you to know that it's so very important, especially in this day and age, that we make sure we're doing the right thing for the community. And I know we are, but are we really? I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
No, thank you for your comments. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Rozak moved.
Kavieski, second.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to 5 different Plan Commission items. Alderman, please note that the first item up is the first reading, and you have the option to waive the second reading. That's your choice. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. Item 9A on the agenda is the ordinance that's in your packet to rezone 2 different parcels of land. The tax keys are identified on the agenda. I won't read those. We did hold a public hearing earlier this evening. No one spoke. We did notice this out to all the landowners adjacent. The Plan Commission did review this. They made a recommendation to approve this request for rezoning.
Council members, do you have any questions for Mr. Gallo? Alderman Kavieski.
Just one quick question. With the rezoning, and you went through in the public hearing and had a map that that reflected the overall planning for the Northeast region. That one, mentioning that the orange areas are probably gonna be single-family residential moving forward.
The area that's identified as transitional?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the orange on the western side, is that still gonna be transitional, or is that gonna be additional?
Western over here?
Uh-huh.
We don't know. That, I contacted that property owner and asked if he wanted to be part of the annexations and rezonings, and they had no interest in coming into the city at this time. That's in the town. But we had to be, look at a crystal ball and thought, when we're sizing infrastructure out there, what is a good land use along the bypass? I thought single-family homes weren't a really good idea, so I put it up to 4 families. So we don't know at this point. That's not in the city, but I'm thinking that it may be multifamily of some sort in the future.
Cool. And the only reason I ask is, with that rezoning and that being single-family, the number of recs, additional recs that'll be used, and the number of recs assigned for that area, they come together well?
Yep, we worked closely with the utilities, sanitary, with the director of the department, and they're aware of this plan, and we gave them estimated number of rec counts, and then they looked at the commercial land, how much land was there, and how much potential flowage, need would be for the pipe sizing out there.
Thanks.
Where's the pickleball courts? Are the pickleball courts in here?
That's an older map.
They're up there. Oh.
It'd be right in here.
I'd
right?
like to, Alderman Douglas, you have a question?
Yeah, what's the line with the arrows going across 67?
This pink, we're trying to get a connection to go from Nature Hill School out onto then public roadways to connect the other schools, so a school-to-school connection. So we're showing that we'd like to see that. I've actually walked this route from the school under the bypass. There's enough headroom in there. And then, this is owned by the DOT in here, gets you outside of the wetlands, and then we wanted to make sure that there's a connection preserved on the future plats that come in. So we're not quite sure how that's gonna look or how that's gonna, but we're trying to do some future planning that would be a nice connection for school children that go here to get to Nature Hill without going on really a lot of public roads.
That's something we can update you. It's not on the agenda for tonight to discuss that, but it's something that's been in the works and might be a nice update to council, Mark, here in the next couple meetings or so. Alderman Shellpepper?
How many people could this end up adding to the city and population-wise?
The next phase in the yellow is coming in right now. Now, some of this is not in the city. This area is not in the city, as well as some of this up here. But the next phase has 232 lots at about 2 people per lot. That'd be about 460 people. This was not counted into that. This is condominiums that have been already approved, plus there's 24 single-family homes in phase 5. So that would be another 50 to 75 people there. So, this could be maybe 1,000 people up in this area. And then that's not including the counts here for that parcel. Kind of what's in the city could be maybe upwards of 1,000 people or a little more.
Well, because I voted in favor of the annexation, so I knew which direction we were moving with this project in terms of we were going to go for a rezone next. So I'm not saying I want to call some halt now, but I think this aligns interestingly with the discussion we're having on public safety and fire department and all that. You're talking about all the recs, the infrastructure we need to have in place to support this, and I'm thinking on kind of a different level, the infrastructure in terms of the safety we need to support this. And so what are we doing? How do we do this up front to make sure that, this 200 or however many homes that we're adding are helping contribute towards that safety that we're going to provide and the cost that we're going to absorb?
I have two comments on that. Number one is, this is not going to just happen overnight. This is a phased project. This
Right.
project down here took them probably close to 10 years to build. So this is probably another, easily 5, if not 10 more years to build out, depending on the market. Number two is these, every home that is brought in, they do pay impact fees. There's, law enforcement impact fee, and there's parks impact fee, and there's other impact fees. So that everyone that comes into the city, they will be contributing at time of
Right.
building permit.
Well, we're looking specifically at go ahead.
We're kind of running a far field a little bit from whether or not we rezone this property, and we're talking about other properties, right? So we have to be careful about that.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking at it, at this property. If we're adding,
Oh,
we're
so if we
rezoning
bring in
this
1,000
property.
people, is that going to be, overloading us? Okay, fair. That's fair.
I think you have to look at, if that's the only way we can look at it is in a vacuum individually. And that's what I'm trying to understand, and that's why I'm throwing it out here now. And I'm saying, so what impact fee will this development pay specifically towards the fire department?
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing for fire. Well, that's not part of the city anymore. When fire was, there
Well,
may
we
have been
pay, we
impact.
pay a percentage though, to that.
They'll pay taxes towards it.
Taxes towards it, but not any separate fee.
Okay, well, do other communities have a fire department charge impact fee?
Only for infrastructure, because you can't charge for service. You can't charge for engines. It's for brick and mortar.
So the law enforcement impact fee goes
Pays
towards
for brick and mortar.
just the facility itself.
Alderman Kavieski?
So to that point, just, I guess, since we're on that subject and maybe in the best interest of the community, I understand, was some of that potential impact fee used for our public safety building, and/or would some of that be used for a potential additional northeast firehouse? Because there is property in this area potentially for that.
Well, I can say no to the firehouse, because that's Western Lakes now, and the impact fees, we don't collect anything for firehouse. The way I believe impact fees, we build a station or a park, and then as fees come in, we pay that off.
But there was some of the cost of the public safety building was financed with impact fees, and we got ahead of that a little bit here, which is ultimately
Yes.
beneficial to develop this area in order to pay that down.
Any development in the city is helping.
Any other comments from Alderman? Like to entertain a motion?
Rozak, so moved.
Kavieski, second.
Do you want to waive the first reading or keep it?
Oh, jeez, wow. Yeah, I'll amend my motion, waive the first reading.
Entertain a second.
Second reading.
The second reading, yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna
Alderman
Yeah,
Kavieski, did you?
All readings in the future
Okay.
forever and ever. Amen.
Too fast through this agenda, I can't keep up. It's-
So a motion's been made to approve waiving the second reading and has been seconded. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak. Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
The next item, 9B, is a final plat for Prairie Creek Ridge 5, so I just left this slide up. This subdivision, Phase 5, was approved 1 year ago by the city, and that was the preliminary plat. And since then, they've started building the infrastructure and everything. So that's this area down here. It includes a very sizable outlot that's for a condominium development that the council approved multifamily zoning for that. But it includes 24 single-family homes through here as well. So this is consistent with the preliminary plat. It was exactly the same. The Plan Commission reviewed this matter, and they recommended approval of the final plat for Prairie Creek Ridge Addition Number 5.
Do we have questions from councilman for Mr. Gallo? Like to entertain a motion?
So move Zaffel.
Spiegelberg, second.
Any further comments? Alderman Shell Pepper.
Yeah, my comment is, again, I understand what we're talking about impact fees, but I think we need to, I understand what we're saying, that property taxes are going towards the fire service, but we're getting into a situation where we're having to pass a $6 million referendum to address those shortcomings. So I guess I think there's a lot of people in the community that are wondering up front, we're adding new homes, we're adding new plots. What are we doing on the front end to make sure that we're covering our public safety services and not having to levy a excessive tax on the people that already live here? So that's why I brought up the comments I had. I'm still going to vote in favor of it, but appreciate the time.
Yeah,
Mr.
Alderman-
Fry?
yeah, Alderman Shell Pepper, one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to Western Lakes Fire District and the monies that they're talking about now, those are being driven by their issues on being able to hire in people and keep people and having people to respond to the fires.
But
So-
also because of the growth that we're
Well,
experiencing as
no,
a community. That's
Right, yeah,
specifically cited.
Some of it is, but it isn't, that isn't the main driver. The main driver is that paid on call, and these are great people that do this. So I'm not, speaking down on them, but they're having more and more difficult times getting those people there and staying with the department. So that's where that money that's being talked about, it's to add the firefighters to offset, to make sure that there's people able to
Yeah,
respond.
well, and then at the end of the day, it's still a money issue then, right?
Some of it is growth, I won't deny that, but it isn't the large portion of what Western Lakes is talking about right now.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
The next item is item 9C on the agenda. It's a certified survey map in the town of Oconomowoc. It's called the Peterson, the North Pole Lane Land Division. It's to divide 3 lots out of an existing lot. And this is a kind of an odd, unique request. The division, if this was in the city, I would not be recommending in favor of it. So this is in the town, and they have some different policies out there. They try to preserve as much farmland as possible, and their requirement of rectangular shaped lots is not there. So these lots being created don't really have a lot of frontage on public streets. They aren't rectangular in shape, and they will void future extensions in the area. Now, it is almost 2 miles from, almost 2 miles from the closest city lands. So I'm not going to hold it up, but I recommend that we don't act in favor of this. We take no action, and we tell them that we're not supportive of this. But what that does is it does allow them to still get it recorded. The Plan Commission took no action on this, and they would like the timeline to expire within 90 days from the submittal. So sometime after April 19th, the city clerk could sign it saying that the Common Council took no action, and then they can get it recorded. Now, if you choose to go a different direction, you could recommend denial, or you could recommend approval, or approve the CSM this evening. So it's up to you, but I think because it's a little unconventional and it's not something we would approve in the city, that we go ahead and we just take no action on this certified survey map.
So in great length, the Plan Commission, I think the recommendation is very, very much towards taking no action. That would be definitely my recommendation as well. I'd like to open it for discussions for Mr. Gallo.
The applicant is aware of this recommendation, and he said he would support holding out until the April meet date and then get it recorded after that.
Alderman Kavieski?
Earlier in your description, you said our clerk could sign this. Is the verbiage really that you would sign this, not could?
She would sign it, would, with a W, after April 19th, with new language put on that I highlighted in the report that says that we certified that the city failed to take action, and it's therefore deemed approved.
Okay.
So would anybody like to make a motion with the information thus presented?
Or nothing.
Move to take no action?
No.
Or we just don't take
No.
action?
Right, you
I'm
don't.
just asking, I have to
Yeah.
ask.
To the council.
Okay, with no motion presented, there's no action. We'll move on to our next item. Thank you.
Item 9D on the agenda is a certified survey map for Olympia Fields development area. It's to divide 2 lots into 3. Primarily, the main purpose of this certified survey map is the roadway dedication for Olympia Fields Drive. This is going from a privately owned land to a city public street. And whenever you dedicate land, you have to do that via the certified survey map instrument. And then there's going to be Olympia Fields Drive with land on both sides. It bisects or segregates two different areas. So therefore, that automatically creates Lot 2, which would have frontage on Summit Avenue and then Olympia Fields Drive. So this is really for the dedication of Olympia Fields Drive. The city is listed as an owner in the signature blocks because there's a small sliver of land for the water tower site that's out there that's being part of the 80-foot wide dedication of the future street of Olympia Fields Drive. But this is hopefully more of a housekeeping matter so they can put the public street in.
Any comments or questions from council for Mr. Gallo? We also have the applicant in the audience if need be. Like to entertain a motion, please?
So move, Kavieski.
Second, Ellis.
Any further comments, suggestions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Mulder?
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Douglas?
Aye.
On to our last item in Plan Commission, Mr. Gallo.
Sure. Item 9E on the agenda is a condominium plat for Olympia Fields condominium. Now that the certified survey map, once that gets approved, they'd like to take one of those lots and create it into a condominium ownership. We all know that Sendex is going to be one of the anchor tenants, and they're going to be purchasing Unit 1. So what a condominium plat does, it allows for ownership to transfer. So that portion of the building is going to become Unit 1, and then there's also creating 2 units within the parking lot. There was a lot of discussion about Units 2 and 3, as shown on the plat, because is there going to be enough parking? And we'll look at that as those develop. We don't know, but there is enough parking in that middle area for the 2 tenants in the building. So we're very comfortable with this plat. It's been reviewed, and the Plan Commission recommended the condominium plat to the Common Council.
Questions, Alderman Kavieski?
You mentioned parking, and that was one of the discussion items when this came up last time, because parking was reduced overall in that area. And the discussion associated with that was the lack of need for the type of parking that typically occurs with the shift of how people go grocery shopping. There's more pickup, there's more inline service. So you mentioned there was a potential concern, but with the additional 2 units, I don't, has something changed? I don't see a concern unless you do.
No, I don't. That's why I'm recommending approval. I know the shifts of change is always happening with shopping habits. I mean, people could be getting groceries delivered to their homes, you know. So there's a lot of things. The reason I said there could be a parking concern raised is we don't know the tenants going in Units 2 and 3. So as those tenants come to the city and approach staff, we're gonna have to look at them, you know, is it a restaurant? If it is, how large of a restaurant? What are the hours gonna be? Is there gonna be shared parking? You know, could there be shared parking between Units 2 and 3? So we just don't know. I think it'll all work together. We just have to make sure as staff, you know, make sure that the parking works, because being a condominium, we don't want people in this unit taking up parking in other units.
Questions or comments for Mr. Gallo? Like to entertain a motion?
So move, Kavieski.
Second, Zaffel.
Any further questions, comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to some unfinished or old business. Our second reading for the 2030 Park and Open Space Plan.
Good evening.
We are ready.
All right. A month ago, exactly, the council approved the first reading of this ordinance and the plan and asked for a few updates and changes to the final plan. So we've incorporated those. That includes the page numbers being updated, adding the table contents. We have a who's list located in there. We've added the minutes of the Park Rec Board and the Plan Commission, and we've made some minor edits to the text and the maps. So hopefully everything everybody's asked for is included. If approved tonight, then it'll help us certainly with grant writing and get that to the DNR for their information. And we'd do a final binding once we have the minutes of this meeting, and we'll be all set with that. So happy to answer any questions. Hopefully it's exactly what everybody asked for.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for getting this finalized so we could see it and approve the final version. So thank you.
Yeah, I also want to thank, there's many people who have helped out, especially Jason. He deserves a lot of thanks because this is up his alley with planning, and he's been great with it. Our Park Rec Board spent a lot of time on this. Staff has, Plan Commission, Council. So thanks to everybody in the community that's provided input and feedback, and look forward to working on this over the next 8 years now at 2030.
Alderman Kavieski?
So this has the regional park designation in the Olympia
Correct. I think it's letter A, Olympia, I think we call it Olympia Fields Regional Park. Yep.
Like to entertain a motion, please?
So move Kavieski.
Second, Zaffel.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Hepner. Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
On to new business, consider act on the 2022-2023 wage reopener memorandum of understanding between the City of Oconomowoc and the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. Chief Pfister.
Great, thank you, Mayor. We started negotiations back in 2020 with the Wisconsin Professional Police Association for a 3-year contract for the years of 2021, 22, and 23. We agreed on wages for year of 2021. We did not agree with wages in 22 and 23. So we set for a reopener of the contract only for wages. So the only thing on the table for this negotiation was wages for 2022 and 2023. With that negotiation, we came out with a 4% increase for the union. They have agreed and accepted that, so that's before you today. The budget, unknown what we were gonna settle at, was put at 3% in there. So this is 1% higher than what was put in the budget, which equals about an increase of $22,000 to the budget.
Questions or comments for Chief Pfister? Alderman Kavieski.
Good job on the negotiation. With the variance in that, is there a budget amendment that would be required since there's additional dollars?
Once the contract's approved, ratified, then
Perfect.
there would be, yes.
Alderman Rozak.
22,000 the first year, but because it's a 4% on top of that, it's gonna be probably 28 the next year in 2020, or is it 22 for both years?
22, and then I believe it's like 23.5 or something
Okay.
the next year. Yeah.
Okay, fair.
So,
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Like to,
Suggest that, eyes wide open, if you approve this, you are going to have to vote for the budget amendment. Because you've already contractually bound yourself to that.
thank you. Alderman Shell Pepper.
So today I saw that we got some money from Governor Evers and the federal government through ARPA. 37.5, I think is what we got, or something like that.
38.5, yeah.
Can we put that money towards this?
That's unknown right now, unless you've heard anything since this morning, but we haven't gotten the official guidelines of what it can be used for, but I'll let Lori talk to that.
I'm just going to agree with you. We just got the announcement of the award. We don't have the guidelines or what the rules are yet. As soon as we do, we'll let you know.
If
But-
we can pay for that, is that something you would, I mean, we could do as a group? I mean,
Yes,
okay.
it's an option once we figure out the rules, absolutely.
I would support it. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, if we're getting the money, I obviously understand it's not a one-time expense, it's not a capital purchase then, but considering this was kind of out of the blue, it's happening at the same time, it seems like the stars align for it, so.
Out of the blue, I like that.
That's true too, yeah, right, yeah.
Good.
Alderman Schulpepper, just so you know, in the event that we can't use the funds for that, we do have sufficient contingency in our budget this year.
Yeah, I'm sure we
That could be
do.
utilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Alderman Zaffel for finding that out for all of us and sending out the email. Thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So move, Kavieski.
Second Mulder.
Any further comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell-Pepper. Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
On to staff reports, Chief.
Thank you.
Since you're standing there.
Well, yeah,
Let's
I'll
roll.
hit it. So, once again, thanks to Alderman Zaffel for first notifying us. But Governor Evers did do an announcement today that more than $50 million investment into safer communities across Wisconsin. And that will be used, part of that money will be used for local law enforcement agencies for a various number of reasons, for hiring, retention, public safety, a lot of different things. We haven't gotten all the details on what it can be used for, but I am proud to announce that the city of Oconomowoc received $38,511. The minimum amount was $7,000, and looking at comparable cities and stuff like that, I think we did very well on this. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to other staff reports. Ms. Sullivan? Ms. Sullivan Murray, excuse me. So she has kind of a really cool, fun announcement for you. Very proud of what you've accomplished, Lori, and this is a testament to all of your hard work and your staff. So we're looking forward to what you have to share.
So we did just get notified that we have qualified for the Certificate of Achievement through the WGFOA for our financial statements. So really, this is, for us, it's the highest form of recognition that governmental accounting financial statements can get. So I wanted to brag on my department because they're really the ones that hold this up and work with the auditors and put this together. And what's really cool is that if you talk to the auditors when they come back, there's very few cities that actually put together their own statements and, go forward for these award certificates. So in the state of Wisconsin, there's 597 cities and villages. Last year, 32 were awarded this, 8 so far this year, with us being one. So I want to specifically call out Hannah Brosh, our accounting manager, who works really hard to make sure that we get this every year, and I'm proud of them all. Thanks.
Maybe a round of applause.
Congrats.
Where are they? Everyone watching.
Mr. Fry, do we have any other staff reports?
One just real quick, I want to apologize to the council. I got a little behind last week and did not send out the weekly update. So in case you're wondering, did I miss you? No, it didn't go out at all, but we'll make up for it this Friday. So thank you.
Great. Any comments or from Alderman, anything you'd like to share with us? Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, briefly, last week I think I had 3 items. I actually can't remember the third item, but 2 I've had responses from already. Actually, Mark sent me an email last day or 2 about the 517 update and where we're going with fundraising. So they said they are working on something and they're going to bring something back to the council so we kind of have an idea where they're at with grading or fundraising. We just haven't heard. So that was encouraging to hear something. And I spoke to the chief and our city attorney after the last meeting about changing our concealed carry permit policy here in City Hall. Chief can correct me as the city attorney, but Chief didn't have any objection to it that I understand. That's correct, Chief? You didn't have any objection. I think when we talked about the concealed carry. And then the city attorney told me that the decision's ultimately up to the council, so I'd like to just see that on an agenda 2 weeks, if we can. I mean, I don't see any reason. It's a simple yay, nay vote to decide to allow our citizens to, you know, exercise their Second Amendment constitutional rights within this building. So that's all I have. Thanks, guys, for your updates and your time chatting. And Chief, kudos on the dog leash thing. I will use that. I'm gonna get that out. That was very nice. So,
Your third item was the ARPA funds.
oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
was the third item. So I haven't heard anything on that yet, but I'm assuming
I
you guys
did.
are working on something. On the ARPA funds?
Yeah.
Oh, it was in
on
the-
the
it-
funds for
It was
COVID.
in-
That's right, the
Yeah.
COVID funds. That's
Yep.
correct. Yep. Thank you. That was the third item.
So those are all in the queue and will hopefully come as soon as possible. Any other comments from Alderman? With no further comments, I have no comments from the mayor. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Wonderful evening, everybody.